Hello guys, welcome back to VC Tech. In the previous videos, we've been working with routers, switches, and network services. However, in a real network, connectivity alone is not enough. We also need security, and that's where firewall comes in. The firewall acts as a security guard between networks. It controls which traffic is allowed and which traffic is blocked. One of the widely used enterprise firewall is the Cisco ASA Firewall. In this video, we are going to learn the basic configuration of a Cisco ASA firewall. We are going to configure IP addresses on interfaces. We are going to assign security level, and we are going to configure the ASA to serve as a DHCP server so it can automatically assign IP addresses to client devices. By the end of this tutorial, you will understand the basic building block of ASA firewall configuration and how devices communicate through the firewall. For the demonstration, we are going to be making use of a Cisco ASA firewall, a router, a switch, a PC, and servers for the DMZ network. Before we jump into the configuration, let's first understand what a firewall does. Think of a firewall as a security checkpoint. Every packet that is entering or leaving the network must pass through the firewall. The firewall examines the traffic and decides whether to allow or deny that traffic. Unlike routers, firewalls focus heavily on security. They don't just forward packets, they inspect them, they enforce security policies, and they protect internal devices from unauthorized access. So one of the first things that we are going to configure on a Cisco ASA is its interface. Typically, an ASA has the inside interface, as we have over here, the inside interface, the outside interface, and the DMZ interface. The inside interface connects the internal network. The outside interface connects the internet or the external network. The DMZ is where the servers are, like the email server, the web server, they are all in the DMZ. Each interface requires interface name, security level, and IP address. Now let's configure our ASA firewall. First, we are going to configure the inside interface. So let's do that now. So CLI, enable, configure terminal, interface gig 1/1. Remember, the interface consists of three things: the interface name, the security level, and the IP address. So first, we are going to say no shutdown, and we are going to name this interface. So name if this is the inside interface with the security level of 100 and the IP address of 192.168.1.1 with a subnet mask of 255.255.0. And next is the DMZ interface. The DMZ interface is interface gig 1/2, no short, name if DMZ. We're going to call this DMZ. So DMZ. And the security level for the DMZ, we're just going to give this 50. And next is the IP address. So IP address for this will be 192.168.10.1 with a subnet mask of 255.255.0. And lastly is the outside interface. So the outside interface gig 1/3, no short, name if outside. The security level of the outside interface is 0. We are also going to assign an IP address to that interface of 200.1.1.1 with a subnet mask of 255.255.0. So I'm briefly going to explain what these commands mean. The name if command is a logical name that is assigned to that interface. So interface gig 1/1 has the inside interface because it is directly connected to our inside network. And it has a security level of 100. On a firewall, if the security level is 100, it means that that interface is trusted. And the DMZ interface has a security level of 50, meaning this interface is partially trusted and the outside interface has a security level of 0, meaning this interface is not trusted. And if we should hover above the firewall, you're going to see that we have 3 networks: 192.168.1.1, 192.168.10.1, and 200.1.1.1. Now let's go and configure our DHCP to enable host devices in the inside and the DMZ network to get IP address directly from the ASA firewall. So on the ASA firewall, we just say DHCP-D address, and we specify where we want the DHCP to start assigning IP address to our host devices. So for this, we'll say 192.168.1.10. We want the ASA firewall to start assigning IP addresses to our internal devices starting from 10 to 192.168.1.20. So basically, we have just 10 IP address that the ASA firewall will be assigning to our internal or inside devices. So after doing this, we let the firewall know that this DHCP that we are creating is meant for the inside interface. So you can query to see what we have. You see we have the inside DMZ and the outside. So we are just going to say this DHCP pool that we created is for the inside network, so inside. And next, we are going to create a DNS. So DHCP-D DNS 8.8.8.8. So we want the internal devices to be using the Google server, which is 8.8.8. And next, we are going to configure a DHCP pool to assign IP addresses to the DMZ devices. So DHCP-D address 192.168.10.10 to 192.168.10.20. So we have 10 IP address also in this DHCP pool that we are creating for the DMZ network. So after doing this, you can see query. You're going to see we have inside DMZ and outside. So you just pick the DMZ because this DHCP pool that we created is for the DMZ network. So after configuring the DHCP pool for each network, now it's time for us to go and do something that's very imperative, because if we should go to the host devices, let's try to get IP address from the host devices and see if it works. So from the inside network, let's try to get IP address for this client PC. So you click on the DHCP, you're going to see that we will not be able to get an IP address from our DHCP server. As you can see, our DHCP failed. Now, why are we not able to get an IP address from the DHCP server that we created on the ASA firewall? It is because we've not enabled that configuration. So how do we enable that configuration? We head to the interface. So interface gig1/1, and we say DHCP-D enable inside. And we are also going to do for the DMZ, but before we do that, let's go and see if our configuration is active. So back to this client PC, static and DHCP. Let's see if we'll get our IP address. Correct, we are able to get an IP address for this client's PC. It has the IP address of 192.168.1.10. Remember, the DHCP pool that we created said it should start assigning IP addresses to the host devices starting from 10, as we have over here. So we have 192.168.1.10 to 192.168.1.20. Let's also try to get IP address from this servers and see if they would get IP address. Unfortunately, they will not be able to get IP address because we've not enabled the DHCP pool on the interface. So we head over to interface gig1/2 and we say DHCP-D enable DMZ. Now, if we should head over to this device one more time and try to get an IP address from the DHCP server, you can see that we are able to get an IP address from the DHCP server starting from 192.168.10.11. Let's also try from this second server and see what IP address it gets. So this server got an IP address of 192.168.10.12. So to see what our interface look like on the Cisco ASA firewall, we can do show run, or you can say do show running config. So this shows us what our interfaces look like. So for interface Giga Ethernet 1/1, you can see the name if is inside and the security level is 100. It also has the IP address of 192.168.1.1 with that subnet mask, as well as the Giga Ethernet 1/2 has the name of DMZ and a security levels of 50. And lastly, the outside interface and security level of 0. So as you can see, we are able to configure a DHCP server on our ASA firewall, as well as we are able to configure security level to each interface, allowing the firewall to decide which interface is trusted and which interface is not trusted. So let's quickly recap what we learned today. We covered what Cisco ASA Firewall is, how ASA security level works, how to configure inside and outside interface, and how to assign IP address, and also how to configure ASA to serve as a DHCP server. Remember, the ASA uses security level to determine trust between interface. As I said, the inside interface has a security level of 100, meaning this interface is very trusted, and the outside interface has a security level of 0, meaning this interface is not trusted. Whatever is coming from interface gig 1/3 is not trusted. And higher security level can communicate with lower security level by default. So the inside interface can communicate with the DMZ and also the outside interface. However, the DMZ and the outside interface cannot communicate with the inside interface because we configured on the firewall telling the firewall that the inside interface has a security level of 100 and that interface is trusted and the other interfaces are not trusted. And we also configured a DHCP and enabled it on the firewall to automatically provide IP addresses for the client's devices. If this video helped you understand how the firewall works, don't forget to like, subscribe, and also share this video. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next networking tutorial.